Does the body think? Can it think? Is there a
Mm,
brain in the body?
yes, I personally believe so. This is an interesting field of research that I think is still growing, but the subconscious mind. That's really the key when it comes to your question about does the body have intelligence or does it think? And then why does it happen where when you loosen up the body, when you move, that you are more creative, right? It's this intrinsic connection of mind body. We now have known this for decades, several decades actually, that there is a mind body connection. And it's become more popular in the last, say, 20, 30 years. But it was first starting to get the discovery in the 60s and 70s, but not very widespread, that the mind has an effect on the body, but it's the same thing other way. The body has an effect on the mind because if they're that intrinsically connected, it has to be a two-way street. But the interesting thing, the body actually sends more information to the brain than the brain actually sends to the body. It's been scientifically proven that. I mean, we think about our brain is extremely intelligent, 100 billion neurons firing and wiring together so perfectly that we live our life as if, we're not even thinking sometimes, to be
Oh,
honest.
yeah.
We're just living out our patterns, right? But all of that going down into our body, I mean, think about it. Our body is actually probably about 90% of our actual physical being. And so all of that information coming up to the brain, I actually believe that every single cell of the body contains a microcosm of what is in the macrocosm of our entire body and brain. So every single cell, I believe, has that energetically because it's all connected, right? But in this one physical body that is one unit, you could say, one physical body, every single cell has the intelligence of the whole, in essence. And we know this. Think about this. When we're first conceived in our mother's womb, it is, two cells coming together, right? It's like the sperm and the egg. But when that sperm that first germinates, then it becomes two cells. That's it. That was the beginning of our nature. Two of the exact same cells. And then over time, it becomes this 100 trillion cellular being. Wow. How is that even possible? Well, I personally believe, and again, I believe that this research is coming out more and more, that it's the subconscious. Our subconscious mind is way more powerful than our conscious mind. And I believe that our subconscious mind is literally within every single cell, because how else would we even be able to form our body in the first place? I mean, of course, with the support of our mother, but that is something that came from within. It was nourished from without, of course, but it came from within. That was spark of life itself.
That's amazing, isn't it? When you described that, I was thinking about what you said about the Big Bang, right? Because
Mm,
you talked about the cell, and he said the cell grows into a body, and I'm like a little thing could grow.
yes.
And I love how you say it's a microcosm, right? It's amazing. So here's a question for you. I do believe that our bodies have a lot of intelligence. I realized that when I first wrote my book, I focused on all mental, right?
Mm,
And then I do yoga. And anybody that does yoga on a regular basis, there's this amazing shifting of your state, of your emotions, even of your thoughts through your body. Like if you go in there and I give up control of my brain and I follow the instructor, stuff happens,
yeah,
right? You know,
100%.
and it's usually through just movement, right? I'm just doing these movements. And so I started thinking, well, the body can heal the brain, you know? Because I
Mm,
would go in there, I might be all torn asunder, maybe a loss of someone in my life. And then I go in and I just do these motions. Suddenly I get clarity. I get
mm.
maybe come to peace or ground. But you know what's interesting? How the challenge is, how do we read our body? I have been struggling. I shared this with my listeners for the last couple of years with psoriasis, which is a skin issue. So I
Hmm.
feel like, well, my body's trying to tell me something.
Right.
But the question is, how do we understand what it's telling us?
That's a great question. And honestly, I've been inquiring that myself, to be honest. And that just brought my mind to a book that I've studied, Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. It makes me think of Louise Hay's work because, I mean, just the way in which our body is organized can help us then think differently, feel differently, approach our life differently. But all these different physical symptoms are just manifestations of something going on internally, whether that's in the body or in our psyche. It's usually both. But my mentor would also put it this way, that our physical body expresses what's going on in our mental and emotional body. And this is, again, a study that was done, many, many studies by the Heart Math Institute. That it's it's why they term themselves that Heart Math Institute, because they focus on the heart. But our heart is a very powerful force, you could say. I mean, in the energetic viewpoint of this, perception of this, our heart center, the heart chakra, is really actually the center of our being. I mean, it's actually where the studies show that it emanates our entire energetic field. This is where we have our electromagnetic energy field. The electric part comes from the electricity in our brain and the connections of our neurons, because that is literal electricity that you can measure. But then once we have a thought that's in harmony with our heart, or in other words, our emotion, then that takes on the magnetic component. And there's this magnetic pull from what our heart is tuned into, whether that's gratitude or whether that's hatred. Whatever state that we're in emotionally, then our heart tunes it to. And the more relaxed, more at peace, more happy, joyful, all these different emotions that are pleasant or comfortable to feel, that calms the heart. And then when we have a more at ease or relaxed body, or in other words, heart rate variability is what they call it. It's like the heart rate is much more smooth. When we have that, then we have much more clarity of thinking as well. It's been well proven for that. So the more you can calm your body, calm your heart, then the better or more clear your thinking will be, which actually you spoke to specifically with your yoga.
Yeah. So there is a scientific connection.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, which is funny. A lot of times people, especially if someone is an overthinker, they think a lot and they're up in their head a lot. You can't think yourself out of that. It's impossible, because that's just more thought, right? It'll just continue spinning that exact same faculty, right? So instead of trying to figure it out, this quote, I actually want to honor one of my close friends and colleagues. Her name is Adelina Tanciocco. And this is her grandmother who gave her this teaching. And so she shared it with me, and I've been sharing it ever since. It says that instead of trying to figure it out, again, more thinking, we want to learn to listen within. Instead of figuring it out, we listen within. And listening within is actually a way of calming our body and really relaxing our mind through focuses on the body.